Well, new at 10, Houston City Council is weighing the changes to the city's immigration ordinance as leaders face big pressure over possible funding losses. We're talking millions here, and growing questions about constitutional rights. Fox 26's Karys Belger joining us now live with a look at the proposed amendment and what happens from here. Ooh, Karys, it has just been a crazy one to follow.
It really has been, and today there were over 100 speakers at City Council. This debate has become a fight over more than immigration policy. Tonight, city leaders are weighing whether to change the ordinance they approved earlier this month or keep it in place and risk a broader legal and political battle with the state. So the amendment removes language tying ICE warrants to civil immigration violations. It also removes a line saying policy does not go beyond state law and changes detention wording while keeping reporting requirements. Those changes appear in the proposed amendment to Section 3441. Now, the proposed amendment keeps the ordinance's reporting requirements in place, but rolls back some of that language. Supporters of the original version said was meant to clarify limits on interactions with federal immigration authorities. The original council item said ICE administrative warrants are civil, not criminal, and said officers may detain someone only as long as reasonably necessary during a stop. But council members, they had some thoughts.
I think a lot of Houstonians are rightfully concerned about the possibility of repealing this ordinance. This ordinance was driven by the concerns of the community, people that felt that we should have clarity and ensure that we're not doing more than what state law requires when it comes to enabling ICE operations, using our taxpayers to support ICE operations.
And that was Councilmember Alejandra Salinas. The vote is expected tomorrow, but some council members are already making clear they do not believe Houston has to choose between changing the ordinance and losing funding, and are insisting the city should be prepared to fight this in court. Caroline?
Well, Karys, the big question is what happens from here?
Well, the next step is the council deciding whether this amendment resolves their concerns or whether they believe the city should defend the original ordinance instead. So a lot to weigh, and they've been given less than 24 hours to do so.
All right, Karys Belger, thank you.